Hey y'all, it's Monica and welcome back. Today we're doing another back to basics for the chunky glitter ombre girls. Yes. And so this video is going to be, like I said, very beginner friendly. This is for my girls who want to learn to do a chunky glitter ombre. I'll be doing a very basic, very beginner version of the chunky ombre. If that's not your thing, baby, come back to the next one. If you want to just stay around and kick it with me, then do so. So I am using a spray painted Hog 20-ounce tumbler along with my Mod Podge. Please excuse my desk. As y'all know, we are in the process of moving, and so everything is everywhere. But anyways, I am using a little brush from, these are the Wet n Wild blush brushes from the Dollar Tree that you can pick up. And so I'm just going in with a pretty decent coat of Mod Podge. I'm super sloppy when I Mod Podge. Some people may appear to be like, cleaner. I am not one of those people, girl. I just got to get this glue on here. And so I'm going to be doing this first layer like in real time, so y'all can see it and I can kind of explain a little more thoroughly. I know I did just a double like fine glitter ombre, and I will link that video below and I'll touch on that a little bit later in the video. And so some people have left some comments, saying that they also wanted to do chunky ombre, and so that's what this one is. And so like I said, this one is going to be like a basic chunky ombre, and what I want y'all to focus on is making sure that when you're ombreing, you are not creating like, you're not making stripes, sis. Like, they're not stripes. And so I think that's a lot of times people get caught up in trying to get that blend perfect and they end up doing more stripes as opposed to like a transition. And that's what you have to remember. You need to, the goal here is to get our transition going. And so when you're Mod Podging, those edges get real dry real quick, sis. So we're going to have to go ahead and take care of them edges. And so this color is Festival. If y'all remember Festival, it was one of the colors that were launched in the summer box last year. Festival is coming back because I said, you know what? I loved all these colors. I had retired them, but I'm like, they're coming back. So it'll be back by the end of the month. So if you're interested in this color, it'll be back. Just give me a couple of weeks once we get everything moved and settled and all that jazz. And so the biggest thing I think when doing an ombre is angle. Y'all see that I'm hitting that angle. I told y'all, hit that 45. Like, it's even when you're doing it chunky, hit that 45-degree angle. And also I feel like height is very important because height gives you that scatter you need to not make a straight line. And you see I'm very gently tapping to get that glitter to kind of rainfall down, but it kind of rainfalls. It's not rain falling into a straight line, because when you do it from that height, it kind of spreads out a little bit, and that's what you want because that's what gives it a nice blend. So you can see, like, now my jar is completely out of frame, y'all. Like, I be getting up there with it. And so that's like my biggest tip. Sometimes when creating an ombre, you don't gotta be like super close to the cup. Like, we're not in a relationship with the cup. You don't gotta be that close to the cup. And so as you can see now, you see how like it goes from like being like really opaque glitter to like being like, now you can see like there's some spaces where you can see the cup. That's because when we're gonna come in with our second color, it's gonna fill that in. And now I'm just dumping. This color is Macaroon Remix, and it's a remix because I be having the factory mix up my glitters for me, and they mix this up wrong. So it's just a remix, but now it's a color now, and I love it. It's still a really pretty color. So yeah, now we're just gonna dump in that area. This part real easy. And that's it for the chunky part. And you can make the chunky like as much of the cup if you want it to be like half the cup. I wanted mine like more of a third-ish. And so one thing I also like to do is to take a color, usually whatever color I'm ombreing with, and going back in and just filling in those spaces, because a lot of times when you're using a chunky mixed glitter, sometimes you may get a space where like it's like two chunky pieces next to two chunky pieces, speech Monica, that are next to each other, and it seems like you can still see the cup a little bit. So I always like to go back in and just fill it with a little fine glitter. I won't do that on both coats, just on the first coat, because one coat is usually enough. Another big tip when you are working with chunky glitter, you gotta let that glitter flat, baby. So I'm using parchment paper, also from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just gonna roll it in here. And so I still do this when my cup is pretty wet. Like, you can wait, but like once I get up from my desk, I'm usually not coming back. Like, I won't be back for hours. I got a one-track mind. Once I get up, I'm gone. And so I just realized all this purple. I got on purple shorts, a purple Cricut. I can see my purple iPad case. I got purple glitter, a purple phone. I got a purple issue. Purple my favorite color, but y'all remember that. And so I'm just pretty much just roll and press. And sometimes you'll get like some glitter. You'll press because I do mine like when the cup is still wet. Sometimes it'll just smudge off a little bit, girl. I'm just going to glitter it back on there. No biggie. We're not gonna freak out. It's okay. And so that's it for the first layer. And that's like, y'all, this is basic chunky ombre. As long as it don't look like stripes, you did it right. That's it. So this is how it looks once it's dry, and we're gonna go ahead and do a second layer of glitter. And so I'm gonna speed through this one pretty quickly because it's just a repeat. I like to Mod Podge from the fine glitter into the chunky glitter. You can go the other way, and something I'll touch on in a little bit also. But yeah, it doesn't really matter. So just make sure you get a nice coat on there. The good thing I always like about using Mod Podge when I glitter is that when I feel like I do the second coat, the glue don't dry down as fast because it's not like on bare material. Like when air hits it, it just condenses up and dries. So you do have a little more time to work with for that second layer. That don't mean like sit there and be gospel on the phone, which is something I would be doing. But yeah, so again, hitting your angle. See that? Ooh, boom, angle hit. Put your wrist against your desk and prop that thing up at that 45. See the height? Getting that height. Get that height up there, okay? We're reaching new heights. We're taking our cups to new heights. Remember my metaphors. When you do these things, don't think of me in like a weird way, but like remember the funny things I say. And so, yeah, and then I'm just going back in with the macaroon remix. Did I tell y'all I had real macaroons in France, and they were, I don't know, they're interesting. The best thing in France is the bread, hands down. Get a baguette if you ever go to Paris. It was the best. And I'm gonna just do the rolling again with the parchment paper. Did I even say it was parchment paper? Why do I feel like I said it was wax paper? If I did, I'm sorry. It's parchment paper. And then usually on the second coat, so I don't knock too much of it off, I like to just use my finger and just pat it down. Real simple, real easy. If like you're weird about touching it, just put a glove on. Cause you know how I feel about too much DNA mixing in the cut. We not too much, okay? Monica, are you all in the camera without your wig on? Ignore me. So yeah, and that's how it looks after 2 coats. And so next we are going to quick coat it. And so I just let it dry. This looks like the next day based on the lighting. And I'm going to just take a makeup brush and dust it off. Just get all that excess off. It just makes it easier. Less layers of everything when you don't have stuff just hanging around on your cup. So just go ahead and dust it off real lightly. And then next we're going to go in with our Counterculture DIY Quick Coat. If you don't have this, you can just go in with like another layer of Mod Podge just to seal it in. Always recommend sealing in. Like you don't necessarily have to seal in fine glitter if like you don't want to, but definitely you want to seal in your chunky glitter. So use some type of like a glitter glue, a Mod Podge, some type of sealant, a clear spray paint. Depending on how long you've been doing tumblers. Y'all remember when we used to be doing that clear spray paint all the time, having to go outside in the dead of winter and do it. Thinking us I lived in Louisiana back in them days. So yeah, and then you're just gonna do a nice little layer. I end up doing 2 layers of this, and so I do them about 2 hours apart just to give it time to dry. And I always feel like I go a little heavy on the bright tone, so my cup be feeling a little wet. And so I be having to wait longer than the recommended time because I just want to make sure I give it time to dry. And I always do that first layer of quick coat. Again, fine glitter first, and then I'll do my chunky glitter. That way it just doesn't mix too much. But like if you don't mind like the mixing, go whatever way floats your boat. It doesn't, this your cup, make it how you want it. It doesn't really matter. So yeah, and also I'm just making sure that I am what word is this, pushing down any glitter that's kind of like sticking up. So I'm also making sure I'm laying it flat, and if it doesn't want to lay flat, I'm flicking it off the cup. And so after my 2 layers of quick coat, this is probably the next day too, because again, once I walk out my craft room, I usually don't be coming back to the next day because I got to either do everything at once or I'm not going to do it. So yeah, and now I'm just going to epoxy it. And so I always do 2 layers of epoxy. I'm just going to show y'all the first layer. So layer 1, and then next day, sand it down, layer 2. And so when you do this first layer, if your quick coat was pretty good and you laid everything down pretty flat, you shouldn't really be feeling too much under your finger. I always tell y'all, go with what you feel. So when you're filling your cup, you shouldn't be feeling too much texture underneath your cup. Your quick coat or whatever sealant you use should have taken care of that, and that way I know I'm in a position where I'm only going to have to do 2 layers of epoxy. Now if it's feeling a little rough, then my sister, you might have to do 3 layers. So and if that's the case, I suggest you go pretty thin. I do like a medium thickness on my layers, about 20 mils per layer. And I usually have about 5 mils left over, so it's really like more like a 15, but I can't measure out 7.5. My eye's not that good. And so, yeah, so that's about how many mils you should be using on each layer. And so really quickly, I want to hop over to a couple of other examples of a chunky ombre. You can see that one in the back. I just be having cups just sitting on my turners that I refuse to give away, and I'm also not going to use because I love them. And so you're probably like, this is more like the style that I want. And you can do this style, but the way I got to this style is I got really good at defining where my lines should be. Where, again, we don't want to look like lines, though. We want them to look like a blend. And so I just feel like for me, it was a progression to this, because I couldn't do this at first. What I just showed y'all is how you get to this. So once you get really comfortable getting that seamless blend with your chunky, then you can get your height, and then you can make it migrate a little bit. And so if y'all want me to go into more details on like this whole migration and making it look like this, I can do a video like that. Just leave me a comment below. But yeah, chunky ombres can kind of take any shape or form as you want it. And just a reminder, throwback to another cup. This is what I mean when I say you want it to be seamless. See how it just seems like it goes from one color to the next and you don't really see where it starts or where it ends, but you know you can clearly see it's 2 different colors. That's all I'm talking about. And I have a tutorial on this if you guys want to see that one. I will link it below. And this is the final of this cup. But you can see it's not a stripe. You see how it just beautifully blends from one color to the next? That's what we want. Sis, you got it. You can do it. You got this. So yeah, if you like these kind of videos, give it a thumbs up. Leave me a comment below. You can follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and Pinterest at PeriodSixDesigns. Same as over here, where you should subscribe, because I'm here all the time. And yeah, watch a couple more videos if you got a little bit of time. I would love for you to join our little family, and I will see you guys in the next one.